Hello there. Seeing as though this is the first video of a new series and some of my viewers might be unfamiliar with the game, I have a lot of explaining to do, don't I? Football Tactics and Glory is a somewhat unique spin on the concept of a sports video game. Not quite FIFA, not quite Football Manager. If I had to draw parallels, it would be to Final Fantasy X's Blitzball, a minigame which I quite liked actually, so an improved version of that fleshed out into a full game appealed to me. Something it does have in common with FIFA and Football Manager though is that the main single player mode is a multi-year campaign to either take a team to the top or keep them there. I'll be looking to do the former with a created club called Nottingham Fire. The logic behind the name is that our crosstown rivals will be the Nottingham Forest and bushfires are the natural enemy of the forest. Kind of cheesy, I know, but the name does work pretty well in isolation, so there is that. After sorting out my logo and uniform, we get inserted into the Amateur League, which is Tier 5 in this game. Now normally you would start the game with a healthy sum of money and a squad capable of getting you up to Tier 4 easily before you have to retool things. But you'll notice that I picked hard mode here, so instead we start with no money and a squad that can only be described as 18 pylons. These numbers may not mean much to you right now, so let's bring up our first opponent's MK Dons to compare. Yeah, their numbers are considerably larger than us. Now to explain how all of the numbers work in practice, it would probably be best for us to enter a match, so let's start this game against MK Dons and see if we can limit the damage. So MK Dons makes a short pass forward and I want to freeze it here. The attacker is trying to dribble past Walton, resulting in a contest between his control and our player's defense. A random number is rolled for both players, and that random number can be anywhere between their actual skill level and a 1. This was an encounter we were likely to lose, but because the attacker rolled low, we were able to win it this time around. Different attributes come into play in different situations. For example, here you see me attempting to use my accuracy attribute to shoot through the defense. Unfortunately, my accuracy attribute is very low and further penalized by the range penalty, so the first line of defense easily blocks it. Contrast with what MK Dons are able to do on their turn. They get it back up to their end of the pitch and, despite a relatively low number on their shooting roll, score a goal because we don't have the blockers. Our goalkeeper suffering a 50% penalty to his defense because he's not actually a goalkeeper yet doesn't help. None of our players have preferred positions because they are all considered 0 class. I'll explain that in more detail later. So far we've established that control is for dribbling or holding onto the ball and accuracy is for shooting on goal. So let's look at passing now. When you attempt to pass through an opposing player, they use their defense to attempt to intercept the ball, much like they used their defense earlier to block the shot I made. If there are no opponents in the way, however, your pass automatically succeeds unless you're attempting a lofted pass, in which case you roll against a fixed number to determine whether or not the pass is accurate. Having only 4 attributes may seem shallow, and it is, but this game also has a very good skill system. A player can choose to bypass the attribute roll by using their skill, the chance of success depending on how much stamina they have left. If the skill succeeds, the team is granted a bonus action, which is huge because you usually only get 3 actions per turn, making it difficult to score, especially if the other team has the ball at the start of your turn. In this example, MK Dons was able to use the bonus action to score a sucker punch goal. Yeah, get used to seeing us lose like this until our players improve a bit. Speaking of, our players will gain experience points by playing matches, which will allow them to gain levels. A level 1 player starts out with 20 attribute points and gains a further 3 points for every level they gain, so in that regard, level can be seen as a form of overall rating. Furthermore, the players will also gain specialization points, which will allow us to assign preferred positions to the players, and they gain bonuses based on what their preferred position is. I can somewhat influence my level ups by telling my players to focus on a specific attribute in training, but that only decides where 1 point goes. The other two are decided randomly, though each player has their favourite attributes that are more likely to grow randomly on a level up. Also, I noticed that Goldsmith has started with 21 attribute points rather than 20. Also, I noticed there's a player named Kako, and I originally renamed him to Knight, but the person who renamed him for me later claimed the renaming rights for a youth player, so from next season onwards he will be referred to as Cook instead. When have we got Northampton Town? Okay, in round 4. I think that'll be the game that we really try to win. The 2 games in the interim, however, were a painful experience that I'm going to quickly skim over. Warsaw were in some ways even better than MK Dons and proved it on the pitch by giving us a 5-0 thrashing. Oldham Athletic were a little bit more generous, only beating us 2-0, but a loss is a loss, isn't it? And the process of improving our team so we can lose less is a slow one as well. We don't gain much experience from amateur league matches, so no one on the team has even reached level 3 yet. Specializations at least are coming along nicely, though we still are a couple of games out from being able to utilize them. But I pointed out the Northampton fixture earlier because they find themselves in a near identical situation right now. Bad players with no preferred position. If there's any team we're going to be able to beat this year, it's this one. And this is where football tactics also bears some similarities to traditional board games, as you can see me lining up my pieces in a way that doesn't make for a realistic formation in reality, but gives me the best chance of countering what Northampton is rolling out today. We are still somewhat at the mercy of the RNG though, due to the nature of this game, so let's see if it agrees with our ambitions of winning this match. And they're going to pass. They're not even going to try and take the ball off me, which means I can play this. It's a narrow angle for us, but there is a chance. Yes! So it seems we're onto a winner with this formation as we score our first goal of the campaign. Unfortunately, the joy is short-lived as Northampton managed to score right back. Our goalkeeper's still pretty bad and the block is not that much better. Also, if you're wondering why I use power shot a lot, it's because if it does get blocked, it takes a deflection, and in the case of the court goalkeeper, it can result in a corner, giving you another chance. With that being said, I should learn to use precision shot more often when the situation calls for it, as it is the better option if you actually want to score goals. The tactic of striking from the left wing to bypass their back 5 didn't net any more goals, but I was at least looking good for a draw until this. The problem was that Hutchinson only has 1 point of defense, meaning that he couldn't block anything because in the event of a tie on the attribute roll, the acting player wins. Which it is perhaps my fault for playing a guy that only has 1 defense to begin with. In any case, it's official. We suck. If there's one thing we can learn from this, it's that defense is just as important in the midfield as it is at the back. The only reason I'm not madder at the result is because we do have Northampton Town in the qualifying round of the Cup, so we will get another chance at them. But to get to that match, we first have to play Wimbledon, a team that probably shouldn't be in this league with how good they are, but they are here, so we have to go get handed this L, a 6-0 L to be precise. But following this game, 3 of our players gained enough specialization points to gain a preferred position. The position we can give them depends on where they have been playing, so Scrimgiawa becomes a goalkeeper, no longer gets that 50% penalty to defense, instead gets a 10% bonus. Once a player has a preferred position, they can also start learning a skill. In this case, I'm taking playing out. It will help us defend against crosses and corners, and I will explain it in more detail when we actually see it in action. Hutchinson and Knight are also going to become midfielders, allowing them to move 2 tiles without the ball. And as for their skills, I would have liked slide tackle on Knight, but the training speed would have been terrible, so lay off pass it is. And as for Hutchinson, Rainbow Feint, deadly on a forward, especially if you also have cannon shot, but Hutchinson is a midfielder, so I thought long pass and we'll have someone else take Rainbow Feint. I'm actually skipping most of this Northampton game because in football tactics, cup fixtures take place over 2 legs, and this first leg ended in a draw. We had our chances of winning, but Northampton equalised off the kick-off, and then on the final kick of the game, we rolled low. We did gain a lot of EXP for playing in the cup. Keep that in mind for later. We've got 2 more league games before the return fixture. Considering the fact that Gillingham are top of the league table right now, 3-0 is a respectable scoreline to lose by. Boone becomes a midfielder, and out of those 3 skills I picked interception, which is the counter to long pass and layoff pass. I'll explain that in more detail when we actually see the skills in action. Challenger becomes a forward, and even though Rainbow Feint is very slow to train on him, I take it anyway because Nutmeg a bit too situational, and slide tackle is really more useful for midfielders. The other league game was against Rochdale, another loss, albeit only 2-0, so progress? Trivet becomes a defender, and I was convinced by my Twitch viewer at the time I was recording this to take head play. It'll give us an option on corner kicks. We can push him up and turn those set pieces into goals. Willen becomes a forward, and he is blessed with the ability to learn both Cannon Shot and Rainbow Feint. I take Cannon Shot for now, but players can learn up to 2 skills depending on their path down the specialisation trees. So we can still take Rainbow Feint, but age may be a limiting factor. Anyway, with this being only an 8-team league, that's the first half of the season done. We're bottom of the league table, but if we can just get through 1 round of the cup, I'll feel a lot happier about how this season is going so far. It won't be easy to outright beat Northampton here because they're starting to gain specialisations just like we are, but we do have the away goal from the first leg if we need it. You will see every action in this game, albeit the match will be sped up so that the video doesn't drag on. Let's get started. Got a friendly roll. Risky play, but it had to be done. I've got an idea. We play Warden offside. They're going to run out of time. They're out of time. And even if they weren't, I could have just pressed Siri and had Scrimgour claim that. And then we try and loft it up to Chandelier. I'm okay with that. It's going to take them 2 turns just to get across. Okay, good. We managed to get the success on that roll, which means we're still going to be able to... Guys, that's game. We've won. we've won because they don't have enough turns to score from here. It wasn't pretty, but we finally managed to get revenge for the league defeat. And in many ways, it was better for us to have won in the cup, because now we're going to get 2 additional games in a competition that's offering a lot of experience points, and we got a huge bonus to our experience gained from this match alone because we won. It's going to allow us to really fast track our team's development and hopefully have a much better second half of the season. Walton and Goldsmith officially became defenders after that game. Both could learn reaction, which counters the Rainbow Fate, but I decided to only give it to Goldsmith, instead having Walton take layoff pass. And with that, we come to the end of the video. There's still quite a bit about this game that I haven't talked about yet, but it'll have to wait lest this video bloat out to half an hour long. Next time we will complete the season, hopefully having a stronger second half to the league now that our team is a few levels higher.